Hello, this is Mike with Site Tour 360, and we've been asked by a number of people if we would share our 360 comparison viewer that we created for the recent California wildfires. So I'm doing a quick little overview video of the project and how to navigate in it, and then I'll put a link to actually view the project in the first comment of this post. So overview, our projects were typically commissioned by the University of Hawaii and the National Disaster Preparedness Training Center. On this particular project, we got support from Mosaic 51, who's the manufacturer of the camera equipment that we use. And what we're doing is we're going in after a natural disaster. We're based out of Florida, so most typically we're going to go in after a hurricane and we collect 360 imagery to show the conditions of everything fairly soon after the event has happened. And then we create a comparison viewer that allows you to see the after imagery and compare it directly with the previous Google Street View imagery, which is usually only a year or two old, and it gives you a real good comparison of what was there before the event happened. Now, this particular event, the California event, if you're not familiar with it, in February, there were some very catastrophic wildfires that happened in the LA area. And in particular, the Altadena, Eaton Canyon area, and then an area outside of Malibu centered around Pacific Palisades. Those two areas were heavily damaged. It was a very large, very widespread fire. In fact, I believe they say about 14,000 structures were destroyed. And the total damage estimates, I think, are going to top $250 billion. So for this particular project, we drove all of the roads in the majorly affected areas, everything we could access. We drove about 300 miles. That's the mileage that we drove and collected imagery for. We collected on a 1 meter spacing, so we ended up with about 500,000 georeferenced panoramas. Now, we've uploaded those to the project, but in the project we put them at, I believe, a 10 meter spacing, because 1 meter is just overkill for just doing visual comparison. And for this project, we use the Mosaic X camera. We typically, we exclusively use Mosaic cameras for our imagery collection projects. We found them to be very dependable from a number of aspects, from just the functioning of the equipment and the workflow processing, and that's we found them to be very reliable. So now I'm going to switch over to the viewer. Like I said, you should be viewing this on desktop. And this is the screen that you'll see when you launch the URL. On the right hand side, there are two windows that display the 360 imagery. The top window is what we collected, and that's where you would do the navigating. So if you wanted to turn, you would turn here. You can see this house is damaged. And then what we've done, like I said, is we have synchronized it so it is calling the nearest Google Street View panorama to the location where our photo was taken, and then it is synchronizing the movement with the top window. So any navigating you want to do it in the top window. And you can see the usefulness of this feature just from looking at this house. You can see after, and then very quickly you can see before and kind of determine the structure type, the construction type, and see the damage level. And then, of course, in an area you can move just like Google Street View, just advance like that. Then on the left-hand side, we have the map. You'll notice there are some red, green, and yellow dots here, or I guess that's orange. This is data that was provided by CAL FIRE, and it is their damage assessment of the structures. So red is 50% or more, which is really basically substantially or totally destroyed. And then the green is unaffected, and then the other two colors are different degrees. So on this map side, if your cursor's over, well, first of all, you can drag this center over here and make the map a little bit bigger. It's a little easier to navigate. If your cursor's on the left-hand side, you can mouse wheel out, and you can see the routes that we have driven are the red lines, obviously, and then the dots are the damage. And the dots are kind of handy in that they act as kind of like a heat map, so you can kind of see areas that were substantially damaged versus moderately damaged, and then you get into areas that weren't damaged at all. So the map is centered on the Eaton Canyon, Altadena area. The other area, Pacific Palisades, is quite a ways away, so you would need to zoom out of the map quite a ways and then drag over, I guess moving the map to the right, but looking to your left, you can see this area, and it's obvious where we collected here. So you can go down to Pacific Palisades and here, and say you wanted to drop in right here. Wherever your cursor is, if you click, it's going to drop you down and show you the panorama. The little arrow indicates the direction that you're viewing here. And there again, you can see, here's a direct comparison. What was there before on the bottom versus what is there afterwards. Pretty stark contrast. And then once again, if you're viewing the imagery, it's handy to drag it back where you get a bigger view there. So that completes the walkthrough. I think it's pretty intuitive. I hope you find it interesting. And like I said, if you have any comments, any questions or that, just put them in the post, and I'll be watching and reply back. Thanks.